Mike in Wimbledon, you're up next. Mike, you're on the radio. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
So my question is, if it became clear to Mr. Rees Mogg that Brexit would do damage to this country economically in the short term and long term, and in terms of our influence and power in the world around us, short term and long term, and the public as a whole are clearly losing their appetite for this project, would he respect any change of heart on the part of the British public, or would he push ahead with his own preferred vision?
Well, Mike, thank you for the question, which slightly loaded question, which I think gives your view of the issue. The British people voted to leave, well aware of the scare stories, the Project Fear, the plague of frogs that we were going to get, none of which has happened. So the evidence so far is that this is false, that the economy is surviving, is doing well, and that the economy will continue to thrive.
Not as well as other zones, other countries in the Eurozone.
Having done much better than them for the previous few years. There are cycles within economies, and that shouldn't be any surprise. That's just the normal course of events, but we seem to be picking up again now.
And coming back to Mike's point, which is possibly he is rather betraying which way he stands, but if it is seen that Brexit would be detrimental to the country, would you ever see changing your stance?
Well, I disagree with Mike's premise, that I think it's enormously economically positive.
Let's bring him back in, Mike.
Yes, quite. I asked a concrete question, and Mr. Rees Mogg happily drifted off into the fog.
Well, I took him to Italy, in fairness, so come back to your question.
Himself respects democracy and the will of the people, in that should the will of the people change when they have clearly put a deal before them, would he respect that will of the people, or is this an option that he is locking off because, like elites himself, he prefers to guide the country down his own preferred route?
Well, I don't know if it's his own preferred route. I remind you of the way the vote went, but Jacob Rees Mogg.
That's the point, Mike. There was a vote. And to say, well, why don't we change our mind before the vote that we had in 2016 has actually been implemented, to say that you think that a few people might have changed their mind, a few mates in the pub. We had the biggest democratic exercise in our nation's history. 17.4 million people voted to leave. And of course that should be implemented. If in 30 years' time the UK wants to rejoin, that would be a matter for the electorate then. But this result must be respected and it must be implemented. Otherwise, we would find our democracy held in as much contempt as that in Greece and Italy by the European Union. I'm grateful to the honourable member giving me an extra minute. It's a kind of Gloucestershire to give something to Somerset for once. But I would say that can be dealt with in the legislation, and you could have two referendums, and as it happens, it may be more sense to have the second referendum after the renegotiation is completed.